Episode 139 of the State of the Old Republic podcast was originally recorded on January 22nd, 2026. It's the State of the Old Republic podcast. This week, I'm diving into the Galactic Threads story in Star Wars: The Old Republic. It's a tale with big ambitions, and I'll be breaking down what worked, what didn't, and the moments that really shine. From character arcs to gameplay integration, there's plenty to unpack. And yes, spoilers ahead, lots of them. So if you haven't played through yet, consider this your warning. For everyone else, buckle up because we're going to explore the threads that tie this story together and why it all matters. And with that, it's time to make the jump to lightspeed.
And cue the moron.
Welcome to episode 139 of the State of the Old Republic podcast. I'm your host, Ted, and as you heard in the opening, I have another great show lined up for you today. It's been over a month since Game Update 7.8 went live. That's more than enough time to play through the Galactic Threads story multiple times. And it's also enough time that I'm okay discussing it with spoiler prejudice set to maximum. We begin not with our player character, but with Shae Vizsla and her mercenaries on Tatooine, a hidden chain fortress embedded into a stone cliff, already under siege. The silence of the desert broken by blaster fire and the bodies of soldiers who never stood a chance. The doors blow open, soldiers spill out, not to fight, but to flee. And then Malgus, calm, deliberate, unstoppable. His hand rises and one soldier is lifted helplessly into the air. It's not a battle, it's a demonstration. Behind him, Shae Vizsla and her crew follow. An escape shuttle arrives, but so do drones, armed mechanical guardians, rising to block their escape. Shae takes cover, her mercenaries scatter, Malgus keeps walking.
Fools.
Unflinching and with a single gesture, the drones are crushed together, hurled into the cliffside in a burst of fire. Malgus doesn't linger.
We've wasted enough
The
time.
shuttle awaits, and the story of Galactic Threads begins not with us, but with him. The scene now shifts to Odessen, our familiar headquarters for the last decade. We walk into the middle of a conversation with Lana Beniko, who has just briefed us on the events that happened on Tatooine.
You're sure it was them?
Entirely. This particular hidden chain strike team had been harassing a nearby settlement for some time. The residents were very eager to tell Theron everything they saw.
This is a smart narrative choice. Cinematic events that exclude the player character can be awkward to handle, but here the story ensures that the player character is brought into the loop naturally. The conversation feels like a seamless extension of the opening sequence, avoiding the pitfall of forced exposition. Shortly after, Shae Vizsla's flagship arrives. It's not Shae, but the Order brothers, Jakaya and Ras. Jakaya has stepped up his leadership in Shae's absence, adding a layer of continuity and depth. The player is given dialogue options that subtly influence the scene's tone, dialing down the temperature, being watchful, or balling up a fist. These choices, while small, help immerse the player in the unfolding drama. After some back and forth, Lana suggests moving to a more private space to share information and strategize, leading us to one of Odessen's many conference rooms, a detail that grounds the story in a tangible setting. Perhaps it's time we start giving these rooms names. As the meeting progresses, it becomes clear that multiple threads are converging. We learn that one of Shae's mercenary associates, a slicer named Greb Besseric, is currently on Hoth. A dig team has breached the inner sanctum of Darth Nul's temple on Elam, hinting at deeper mysteries, and a close ally of Hedda Cole has defected from the hidden chain and is known to be on Tatooine. An old Sand People proverb asks, how do you eat a whole bantha? The answer, one bite at a time. This perfectly encapsulates the story's pacing and structure. The narrative wisely acknowledges that the player can't be everywhere at once and must choose their path, as there are a lot of cats to herd. There's no right or wrong choice here. It's a matter of personal preference and curiosity. Do you want to ease into the story gently, save the best for last, or dive straight into the highest stakes? Ultimately, the order of these storylines doesn't affect the outcome, much like choosing Alderaan before Tatooine in an origin story. I personally chose to escalate the tension, starting with Tatooine, then Hoth, and finally Elam. It's a sequence I'd recommend. And with that, I now want to turn our attention to the story on Tatooine. This story has us teaming up with a Kavi Spar, setting the stage for a sprawling desert chase. We learn that the defector is a member of Clan Harangir named Jamala. She's on the run with her lover Aura. Aura is a Force sensitive and was captured by the Hidden Chain as part of an operation to use Darth Nul's technology to round up Force sensitives for their cause. Jamala was part of that operation, and after meeting Aura, she falls in love with her and has a change of heart about Hedda Cole and what she's doing. Though they're supposed to be hidden, a mysterious signal, one they didn't send, draws us right to their doorstep.
How? Since our last run-in with Raw's regulators, we've managed to avoid detection.
Then why did you send a distress signal to the Mandalorians under Jakaya Ordo's command?
I sent no signal. We're trying to disappear. We're covering our tracks as carefully as we can.
I don't like this. Who sent that signal then? And why does it feel like there's something we're missing?
It's yet another mystery served up by Legacy of the Sith, but thankfully we don't have to wait long for answers to this one. Jamala and Aura have a bounty on their heads. They're being pursued by a group called Raw's Regulators. We decide to help Jamala in exchange for vital information about Hedda Cole, which sends us trekking all across the desert, gathering intel and taking out regulators along the way. Now you might be wondering why the story has us going to all corners of this barren desert wasteland of a planet. The cynical answer is that the developers wanted to inflate the amount of time it takes to complete the story. After all, the story is too short is a common refrain from the player base. But remember, Galactic Threads was supposed to be part of Game Update 7.6, which introduced dynamic encounters to Tatooine. I suspect the real goal of sending us hither and yon on this dust bowl was so we'd encounter these encounters. And I'll admit, at the time, I would have been more than happy to pause the adventure and audition to be a groupie for an up-and-coming Cantina band.
Tatooine! Where the double sunburns! Are you ready to feel the heat? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3!
But a year later, the marquee above the cantina now reads Puppet Show and the Double Sunburns. And after a story drought so long that it would make a Tatooine moisture farmer want to rethink their life choices, there was no way that I was going to do anything more than play the story. The desert chase ultimately leads us to the spaceport, where we confront Rawl and dispatch her swiftly. Returning to Jamala, we inform her that her immediate threat is neutralized. She then shares crucial intel on Hedda Cole.
Hedda's fleet has been moving through Sith space, completely untouched and undetected. I suspect she is receiving some kind of assistance in this endeavor. From whom, I cannot say. The Field Marshal is no friend to the Sith. She detests the Empire. What she could want within this region is a mystery to all but her. But it's clearly something big.
The story culminates in 3 choices. Offer to escort Jamala and Aura to a Dessin, a light side option, thank them for their information and part ways, or say nothing and walk away. The final choices reflect player sentiment towards Jamala and Aura. Not everyone will warm to these characters, and the developers acknowledge this by allowing players to walk away. Personally, I wanted to walk away, but my character leaned toward the middle, opting to thank them and move on. It was a perfectly acceptable decision, though Jakai's debrief made me feel like I should regret it when he said this.
Akavi filled me in on the hidden chain fleet movements. Good work. It's not a perfect lead, but it narrows the area to search significantly. Our scouts will appreciate it. Would have been even more appreciated if we had Jamala around to consult. But we'll make do.
The story on Tatooine is largely told through KOTOR-style cinematics, with Jamala and Aura delivering most of the lines, Akavi speaking, and our player responses limited to the written dialogue. Did it work? For this story, it was acceptable. I wasn't deeply invested in these characters and felt my role was more reactive than proactive. While fully voiced dialogue is always preferable, this approach was less jarring than similar cinematics in Desperate Defiance. Overall, the Tatooine segment balances narrative ambition with gameplay mechanics, offering players meaningful choices while navigating a sprawling desert landscape. While I didn't care that much for Jamala and Aura, and Rawl and her crew were minor foes at best, I thought this story added depth to the larger narrative. It revealed the cruel lengths the Hidden Chain is willing to go, and exposed cracks within their ranks. The Hidden Chain mystery only deepened, leaving us with more questions than answers. Who sent the mysterious distress signal? What exactly is Hedda Cole doing in Sith space? And who might she be working with? Still, this was a solid story and a fitting warm-up for Galactic Threads, which is why I enjoyed starting here. Next, we'll get out of the sun and head to the cold, snow, and ice on Hoth. On Hoth, we're working with Ras Ordo to track down one of Shay's mercenaries, a talented Mon calamari slicer named Greb Bezerick. Greb was first introduced in the amazing Prison Break cinematic at the end of Desperate Defiance. He was by far the standout character from Shay's crew, and one that I hoped we'd see again. A quick side note, on her blog, Going Commando, Shintar wrote this about Greb. For some reason, I found his name extremely difficult to remember and spell correctly. I have the same reaction. While there is nothing inherently complicated about his name, it is challenging for reasons I just can't fathom. Fitting, I suppose, for a story filled with unsolved mysteries. Now back to Hoth. As I said, we're working alongside Ras Ordo, and while I normally love working with Ras, this time I felt like Vet in Profit and Plunder.
Yes, I got it, Grumpy Pants.
Grumpy Pants is an understatement. Ras is in a foul mood from the moment he lands on Odessen to the moment we part ways in Galactic Threads. To be fair, the developers warned us about this in the 7.6 live stream over a year ago. And while I prefer the happy-go-lucky Ras, it is nice to see these characters show emotion and react to the circumstances of the story in a way that goes beyond their normal demeanor. It's just another way I think the developers are trying to deepen character complexity and bring more emotional nuance to the story. The story takes us to Shai Tenna's Pleasure Den on Hoth, which many of you may remember as a location from the Smuggler's origin story. I haven't played this story on a smuggler, but Shintar noted that there's nothing special for smugglers. It plays out the same for all classes. And like Tatooine, the hunt for Greb has us going to different places on Hoth, again likely so we'd run into the new dynamic encounters. Greb is on Hoth because he needs stims to stimulate his cybernetic tech, and the pirates on Hoth are a good source for him. Our search leads us to a ship in the starship graveyard. We find Greb, but because nothing is ever easy, the chase is on. And during our chase, there is a wonderful blink and you'll miss it moment where Greb jumps into an icy pool of water. We can't follow him there, and as we work our way through the ship's corridors, Ras exclaims, "There he is." At first glance, you wonder if Ras is just working off literal blind rage, but if you look up, you can see Greb swimming through a transparent water-filled maintenance pipe, much like Scotty in J.J. Abrams' Star Trek, only more graceful. This is something that I missed during my first playthrough, and may never have figured out if it hadn't been pointed out by fellow content creator Illiva on social media. Thank you for that. We eventually catch Greb, who tells us he doesn't know where Shay is or how to find her. He works with a middleman these days. When asked why Shay would want to work with Malgus, Greb tells us this.
Just tell us one thing. What does Malgus gain by helping Shay?
Look, I don't know the specifics, but I do know that whatever each of them are after, they're gonna find it in the same place. 2 targets, 1 goal, 1 win, 2 prizes, that kind of thing. Get it?
At this point, we're presented with 3 options. Send Greb to the Mandalorians, send Greb to your faction, Republic or Empire, or kill Greb. Like many of the choices in this story, they don't alter the outcome in a significant way. The story doesn't branch off in a different direction. These are more flavor choices for your character. In the case of Greb, the choices mostly serve to raise or lower the grumpy pants level of RAS.
You're right.
Barrier! What are you... He could have led us to Shay!
And he could have let her know we were after her.
Oh, attack! Don't expect me to explain this mess to Jakaya.
Yes, I got it, Grumpy Pants.
And that's it for Hoth, and I have to say that I was a little disappointed with Greb. I thought he would have been more refined and intelligent, but his personality reminded me too much of Gus Tuno, a character that I do enjoy a lot. Still, this was another fun story beat, and we learned that Shay and Malgus appear to be using each other for mutual gain. Their uneasy alliance adds an intriguing layer to the narrative without resolving the deeper mysteries which remain as frozen as the planet itself. Well, next we leave the icy plains behind and head to Elam, where new secrets and puzzles await.
I can't tell you how thrilled I am to finally gaze upon what's beyond this door. What wonders we shall discover.
What wonders indeed. Elam is where the story kicks up a notch. There's a dig team that's breached the inner sanctum of Darth Nul's temple. Well, almost. We're one door away and Talos Drellic needs our help. He's found an ancient droid that belonged to Darth Nul, but it's in need of some parts. Talos has found a reputable, yes, I'm using air quotes there, droid repairman on Nar Shaddaa, and our job is to help him navigate this seedy world and get what he needs. It's a relatively uneventful mission. Talos gets the somewhat unique part, and it's back to Elam. Elam is where our faction alliances come into focus, as Imperial players are greeted by Major Henri, who is there at the behest of Darth Krovos. Jedi Knight Arn Paralin is the Republic's representative. He's there at the behest of Tau Eder and Nostaral, and he's kind of a Darth Nul lore junkie. With the droid repaired and the help of Darth Nul's holocron, we get inside the temple. The inside of Nul's temple is an incredible space, and the developers gave us reasons to explore it all. Multiple rooms sprinkled with clever puzzles for us to solve. Nothing as intricate or complex as you might find in a Lara Croft or Indiana Jones adventure, but a nice change of pace from the usual kill this and collect that mission. Along the way, we find holo recordings from Darth Nul herself, little snippets of her philosophy. Clearly, she is neither Jedi or Sith. It's the first time we've heard her speak, and each puzzle we solve rewards us with a data scroll. With all the data scrolls in hand, the droid connects itself to a console, and then nothing. It sits there, and we try and figure out what to do next. Now, from the player perspective, we've always known what's next, as the droid has a socket in its head that's a perfect fit for the holocron. The characters come to the same conclusion, and we insert the holocron into the droid. And then the big moment. The droid starts transmitting data, an uplink we never initiated.
My holocron must remain. It is safest here, with the very device it was meant for, not in the hands of those who wish to find the machine.
Wait a minute. where are you sending the data from that droid?
Me? I haven't a clue what you're talking about.
What's going on?
Oh no. Something has activated the uplink connection in the droid, and it wasn't us.
Shut it off, Talos. You said there was a way.
I've been attempting to. Nothing is working.
Shut it down.
Wait! We don't know what will happen to the holocron if you destroy the droid. Who knows what information we stand to lose?
Then we wait until it's finished.
This moment leads to a choice: stop the transmission or let the recording play. From the player's perspective, when the conversation wheel only has two choices, we expect divergent outcomes that are meaningful. And so, sitting behind the keyboard, it's easy to infer that letting the recording continue to play should mean just that. But instead, the game overrides us. If we choose to let the recording play, Arn or Henri shut it down no matter what. And here's the twist. That lack of agency isn't a flaw, it's the point. It creates friction with our faction. It reminds us that the Republic and Empire don't trust us, and that even our closest allies are willing to go against us. And it positions the player to have the same frustration as their character. This was a terrific moment, and one can't help but wonder if this should have been presented as a choice at all. I think it would have played out better if let the recording play was just the direction the story went. As it is, the outcome of each choice isn't drastically different. Either we destroy the droid or our allies do. It's more about control and who is in a stronger position to point fingers and assign blame. And I find that having Arn or Henri destroy the droid is the more dramatic option.
That was the most information we've gotten from the holocron yet. We may never get another chance like this.
That might not be the case if you had allowed some of us to study it in the first place. We would have been worse off if I hadn't done anything to stop that data transmission.
You still should have trusted me to handle it.
It's not that I don't. You and I have been through a lot. Too much for you to ever doubt that I'm with you no matter what. But all the same, we can't ignore this. We need to seriously look into who's behind that transmission. Could be anyone. I hate to say it, but, are you absolutely sure it couldn't have been any of your people?
Who's to say it wasn't someone in the Republic, and not in the Alliance?
Elam doesn't just test our patience with puzzles, it tests the very idea of whether the Alliance can still stand as an independent power. It gives us a reminder that in Galactic Threads, power isn't only about what we uncover. It's about who gets to decide what happens next, and that may not be the Alliance commander. And speaking of what happens next, the story doesn't end with Elam, it's heating up, but you'd never know it because the journey is about to take us to the cold, dark world of Ilum. Ilum is where the stakes truly ramp up. The wreckage from the Emperor's fortress was recently discovered, and a reconnaissance team was sent to investigate. Naturally, something went wrong and we've lost communication with the team. Making matters worse is that the team is comprised of members from your aligned faction. If something were to happen to them, it could cause a further rift with your already shaky alliance with the Republic or Empire. You and Lana travel to Ilum and make your way to the fortress. The wreckage is impressive to say the least. We start in the old throne room, which always had Death Star 2 vibes from Return of the Jedi. This time it's reminiscent of the wreckage on Endor from The Rise of Skywalker. The development team continues to deliver amazing spaces for us to explore and adventure. We work our way through the fortress learning bits about the recon team. We find a recording from Malgus when he occupied the fortress, and then a more recent recording.
As you were, a thrall to his whims, a slave to the never-ending pursuit of power that he would never grant. Like you, I thought I had the answers. I believed I walked a path of self-determination. I believed I could break the hold he had over us all. But I failed to...
Was he speaking to someone.
We'll never see victory. The infighting, the Republic, they are distractions, preoccupations, all to keep us from knowing what you knew. If all have power, then it is true strength that prevails. To lay the foundation of chaos necessary for such a thing to happen. How it must have hurt to have finally found the purpose for your work, only for him to...
This is becoming the central mystery of Galactic Threads, one that's partially resolved in that it's a coin flip as to whom he's speaking to. A 50-50 guess at one of two individuals, the first of whom we meet in the fortress. As we go deeper into the fortress ruins, we find the recon team. They're possessed, not unlike individuals we encountered on Tatooine years back in the That Thing Zerka Found story. We dispatch what's left of the recon team and enter what we believe is one of Vitiate's vaults. There we find a Rakatan mine trap, and as we approach it, Darth Nul's holocron reacts with a light hum. Despite the danger, we enter the mine trap. After all, to not do so would be narratively criminal. Inside we find Darth Nul, or at least what's left of her fractured mind.
You are not him. The one who came before.
Him? You mean Malgus?
The one who deceives. The one who seeks a false dominion.
Darth Nul?
I am no one.
Not so. You left your mark on the galaxy. Someone will attempt to use your ideas in service of burning it down.
They cannot. He stopped it. Eradicated my work. The Emperor. His great punishment. He slaughtered my disciples. He corrupted my creations. But he could not break me. My mind. My mind, my most treasured possession, locked away. Useless.
The Emperor took you, made you a Sith. He used your inventions. What turned him against you?
A threat. To him. To his reign, his control, his dominance. I offer power. Share it. Illuminate darkness. But if too many have power, who is left to rule over? If too many possess a god's strength, what use is a god?
That's what the Emperor did. Put down anyone who challenged his rule and grew stronger each time.
Until you. The one who came before. He spoke of you, your strength. That you might desire the same things. To truly see the way of Jedi and Sith. The way they were. The way they are. The way they always will be. They deny, destroy, withhold the Force's gifts. He understood what must be done. To design their doom. To free others of their manipulation.
Malgus is no liberator.
He will see potential fulfilled. His. Everyone's. It is the only way to be free.
We fight Darth Nul and barely escape the mine trap with our lives. Back in the vault room, the mine trap falls over. Darth Nul's holocron lights up once more and hums to life, and then the mine trap explodes. Is Darth Nul truly gone, or has her mind found refuge within her holocron? Personally, I hope it's the latter. We've been learning about Darth Nul since Secrets of the Enclave, and her arrival has felt like a long time coming. She's brought vividly to life by Samantha Bayard. Many of you will also recognize her as the voice of Karlach in Baldur's Gate 3. What struck me most was the balance in her performance. In the Temple Holo recordings, she delivers calm restraint, almost meditative. But inside the mind trap, her voice shifts into something far more impassioned, layered with conviction. It was all but certain Darth Nul would attempt to possess our body, and yet once she began revealing her motives, I genuinely wanted to hear her out. The impact comes from a performance rich in nuance. Whether guided by the developers or her own instincts, Samantha brings emotional depth without ever tipping into excess. It's measured, it's compelling, and it elevates the character beyond a simple antagonist. And like many of you, I sincerely hope we'll see more of Darth Nul in future updates. Well, now that we've escaped the mind trap, it's back to Odessen, where Galactic Threads has one final surprise for us. Back on Odessen, we return to that familiar unnamed conference room. It's here the story offers its final reveal, or perhaps more accurately, a confirmation of what many suspected. Darth Jadus has returned.
A droid in need of repairs. A mysterious call from someone in need of a protector. The paths were so clearly laid out before you. You did well to follow them. I was close to losing my patience. You now know what Malgus intends. Null's machine, utilized on a grand scale, reawakening a connection to the Force in many. Enough to fundamentally disrupt the order of things, to overwhelm the Jedi and the Sith and their weakening grasp of control. And the hidden chain, their leader blind to all but her own desire to refashion the galaxy, are hastening toward making Malgus's vision a reality. But you and the young Jedi have taken the key, the piece of Darth Null's machine required for its success or its failure, the holocron. It seems those who aid you are just as resilient. Once more, you interfere with something that is beyond your understanding. And once more, you will require my knowledge to guide you through it. You have a choice. We can continue this stalemate, this back and forth, never-ending disruption of plans. Or you can have a say in what is inescapable. You can heed my counsel and have control in what is to come. Consider carefully. I will contact you again.
Darth Jadus. Truthfully, he was the last person I expected to have a hand in this. And I'm not entirely certain there's any way of knowing just how involved he is. Do not underestimate him. You know better than anyone what he is capable of. He was formidable enough before his disappearance. Who knows how far his reach extends now?
This is not how Jadus operates. What is he playing at?
Anything, really. I know it's been a long time since you were made to deal with his games, but anything you can recall would be tremendously helpful.
You're right. He's had time to set up the board in his favor. But he can't hide forever.
That recording comes from the Imperial agent's perspective, the one-player character with a direct and complicated history with Jadus. It's a welcome touch that the writers remembered that connection and even added subtle variations for other classes. There's also a shift worth noting. This is now the second update where the male Imperial agent is voiced by Wolf Scolding, who stepped into the role after Bertie Carvel's departure in desperate defiance. The change is less jarring than it is simply different. And if you're going to recast a central player character, the archetype of the British spy is resilient enough to carry it. Think of it the way Roger Moore once took over from Sean Connery as James Bond. The role endures even as the voice changes. The recording itself does important work. It confirms what we've been piecing together. Jadus has been pulling strings from the shadows. It reveals that Rakan and Sahar are alive, with Rakan shown taking Sahar prisoner. a moment that hints at his continued longing to be part of the hidden chain. And it raises new uncertainties. Was Malgus with Jadis in the Emperor's fortress? Was Malgus the man who visited Darth Nul in the mine trap, or was it Darth Jadis? Galactic Threads doesn't resolve these questions. Instead, it underscores the complexity of the narrative. Hedda Cole and the Mandalorians pursue an unknown purpose. Malgus seeks to reshape the galaxy with Nul's technology. Shae Vizsla fights to stop Hedda Cole, and for now, working with Malgus may be the only way to achieve that. Darth Jadis manipulates events from behind the curtain, and Nul herself did her essence pass into the holocron, and what might that mean? Galactic Threads was perhaps the strongest story beat of Legacy of the Sith thus far. It leaves us with a lot of questions, but the answers are coming soon. The story continues in Master's Enigma later this winter, before concluding in Legacy Reborn. How it all comes together remains anyone's guess. Couple of items before I let you go today. Game Update 7.8c will go live on January 27th. It's a small patch that contains a number of bug fixes for the wreckage on Dantooine and updates to improve mission tracker readability. And we're getting close to February, which means it won't be long before we start hearing about the 7.8.1 developer livestream, which should give us more details on SWTOR's plans, not just for that update, but also for 8.0. And that's the state of the Old Republic for today. Let me cut in the sublight engines and cue the music and congratulate you on surviving another half hour, give or take, listening to episode 139 of the State of the Old Republic podcast. I'm your host, Ted, and I thank you for tuning in. You can find this podcast on Buzzsprout and iTunes, wherever else you find your podcasts. And I'm also back to putting these up on YouTube. You can listen to the show directly from the show's site, which is sotorpodcast.com, and there is an RSS feed where you can subscribe to the podcast directly. If you have a question for the show, you can email me at sotorpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time, remember the Sith code, cake is a lie.